Let's go back inside that Georgia courtroom now. The court is about to view some body camera video. This is from the first officer who responded to the crash.
So you're sitting on the 20, roughly east-west. The accident that you were aware, was it north or south?
It would have been south of my location.
So heading towards Carolina.
Correct.
And so you responded.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Sure. How long did it take you to get there?
Less than 30 seconds.
Now, you said you were in uniform earlier. Did that include a Bodycam?
It did.
Oh, and just explain it with the jury. Tell us about what Bodycam is and how it works.
They're all different versions, but when I was in the city of Bremen, we had what we call a eye view, which was a swipe on, swipe off body camera.
All right, where was that located on your body?
I believe it was on center area somewhere.
All right, if you just stand up, you just kind of said where it was going.
It would have been in this location.
Oh. Is that something you had to turn on for it to start recording?
It was, yeah.
And was that something that you turned on when you approached the collision?
I don't remember when I turned it on, but I do know it was activated when I was out there.
Maybe that question. Was that recording when you went to the collision?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I think it's exhibit behind Harris State Exhibit 9. That's the body cam off the angle of my time.
So speak to it as we're going to
All right, so exhibit 9 is admitted.
And Your Honor, I would like to publish it for the jury.
Yes, sir, you can.
This first video.
She's still breathing.
Lake still, okay? Lake still, I got emergency on the way, okay? At 16, South 520.
Both doors are jammed to go to your side. Oh. Can you move?
Looks like 2 possibly under 20. Female, bleeding severely. And
2 more in the car!
driver.
2 more in the car!
Just make sure there's 2 more in the car. We got 2 in the back.
Is he conscious? Yeah. Sit still, man. Sit still.
04 dispatch up and right. There's that one.
Hey! Hey, man. Hey.
Yes, sir.
Come over here, man. Sit down right here. Have a seat. Huh?
Is the trooper okay?
Just sit down. Have a seat.
Have a seat. Is the trooper okay?
He seems fine. We got 2 in the car on the passenger side. Both passenger doors are unable to be opened by me.
There'll be 4 patients total, but it has Western to respond as well.
You all right?
Trapped in the back seat, non-responsive.
I don't know, man.
Breathing, but non-responsive.
Mr. Lambert, on the location that you responded to, what county is that?
We've been right at the Carroll County line.
All right, so it's in Carroll County. But you were working for Green?
Correct.
Was it in City Green?
No.
So it's fair to say you were just responding for assistance.
That's correct.
When you arrived, you recall how the vehicles were located?
The sedan was up the embankment there, and the trooper car was 100 feet or so past it.
All right, and the sedan you're referring to, is that the one that we see in the video you going out to?
That's correct.
All right. How would you describe the sedan, the condition of it when you first arrived?
Body damage. Is that what you're
What
asking?
side is that on?
That would have been on its right side.
Okay, the passenger side. Did you attempt to open the doors?
I did.
Okay, were you able to?
No, not the passenger side doors.
Okay. How come you couldn't open the doors?
Often when vehicles collide with each other, it causes the mechanisms to not work. The snow gets shifted. You couldn't open it physically, not with one person.
I noticed you're on this passenger.
I got you.
All right, so you weren't able to open the doors because of the damage to the vehicle.
Correct.
Okay. Were you, and so you see in the video, you go around to the driver's side.
That's correct.
All right, and what did you see when you saw the video? Tell us there, what you observed on the driver's side.
Two people in the back seat, and the driver was being escorted away from the car by Trooper Scott.
Thank you so much to John Day for joining us this afternoon. And coming up, we're going to have more of the Speeding Trooper Homicide Trial for A.J. Scott. Stay with us. You're watching Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott, of course, honored to be with you. Court TV is in Carroll County, Georgia this afternoon, where a small-town mayor faces a jury for a deadly car crash during his time as a state trooper. A.J. Scott is charged with 2 counts of second-degree homicide by vehicle in connection to the deaths of 2 teenagers. Prosecutors believe that Scott crashed his speeding patrol car into another vehicle back in 2015. But the defense expressed deep sorrow for the girls, of course, and then said during opening statements this morning that there's reasonable doubt as to who was actually at fault and how the accident occurred. Let's get you back inside the courtroom now for more testimony from one of the responding officers. He is on direct examination by the state.
When you first got there, was the driver in the vehicle?
Yes. He was the one that was accelerating.
Was it important to get him to take his foot off the gas?
It depended on if the vehicle was going to have the option to keep moving or not, or where it was at. It didn't look like it was, but if it did continue to make movement, then it could have created further injuries.
All right, and so that's the concern for you?
Yes.
And it looked like it was kicking up that, right?
That's correct. Tires were partially off the ground.
And we hear it because that was effectively the top of it.
It was probably a combination of that and when airbags deploy the chemicals and stuff on them. Just a lot of extra stuff.
So we see you with the vehicle in the front side passenger.
Okay.
How would you describe this condition?
The front passenger, he had a head injury. He was kind of in and out.
He appeared to be conscious.
It was in and out, yeah.
What about the back?
One was not moving, and which passenger? So the one you asked about before, that was the one with the head injury in the front right? I thought he was in the back left. Was he in this car all the time?
There's a gentleman in the front. And female in the back.
Okay.
And I was asking the condition to be found.
Yeah, the female was not conscious, not breathing. And the male was what we discussed.
And then you already stated that the driver of the vehicle had now got the car by the trooper Scott.
That's correct.
Was there a second female at the same, you recall?
There was.
And do you remember where you found her?
She was laying on the roadway in Holly Springs.
All right. Did you provide assistance?
No.
And did you have an opportunity to speak with Trooper Scott at the scene?
Yes.
And how was the described condition? You found him?
Physically, he was okay.
All right. Did he ask anything of you at the scene?
Yes, to take his laptop, put it in my car, secured.
That's something you did?
Yes.
All right. Later on, do you recall what happened to you?
I was told by, I don't remember who told me, but that Joseph Alexander, who was my sergeant at the time, took it out of my car and provided it to GSB or whoever you give it to.
No further questions, Sergeant Trooper.
Some of the questions I'm going to ask you are obviously not the answer to your call. I know this has been 10 years ago, so at any point in time you need to stop and think, don't feel like a lot has happened since then in your life. At the time you said you were working for Freeman Police Department, correct?
That's correct.
And were you corporal, literally, or
No, just patrol.
okay. And you were sitting under I-20. Do you know if you were facing northbound traffic or southbound traffic of 27? You were
I would have been perpendicular to traffic, parked underneath that bridge. So I don't remember which direction I was. My driver's door was facing, but the car would have been oriented east and west.
okay. And City of Bremen has part of the Carroll County over there.
That's correct.
And so it was not uncommon for you guys to be positioned there, correct?
No, not uncommon at all.
Night shift, particularly, correct?
Yes.
And if you remember, how would you describe traffic that night? Heavy, light?
It's usually very light, and same for that night.
And what time did you come on? What was your shift at?
And we work 12-hour shifts, so 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Okay. So you've been on about 4 or 5 hours daily shift. Okay. And you mentioned that Trooper Scott had been under the bridge with you. Do you remember what time that would have been?
It was after dinner, but probably closer to, it was post-dark, so maybe 10 o'clock.
Okay. And you mentioned he had left a radio with you. Just so we're clear about this, the State Patrol have radios in their cars.
They do.
Okay. But the radio you're speaking of is the handheld one, oftentimes mic on your shoulder.
That's correct.
Okay. And that one just needed a charge. Is that fair?
Correct.
Okay. Is that something you had done for him and other people before?
No, not that I can recall.
Okay.
They usually didn't use their radios. Dispatch contacted them most of the time via cell phone.
Gotcha. But you were willing to do it for him as fellow officer?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Now, just so the jury those who don't know, how far would you say it was from where you were sitting to where the accident happened?
Quarter mile maybe.
Okay. And that would have been, where the accident happened was outside of the city limits, correct?
That's correct.
All right. But when you heard it, you just responded?
Correct.
All right. So you mentioned that it took you, think, 30 seconds or so to come up the hill.
It's that, yeah.
And then we saw your body camera. I just want to ask a little bit about what we saw. When you got there, we hear the motor revving in what you call the sedan. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you hear a voice, and I'm going to ask, was that your voice? Hey, take your foot off the gas.
That would have been me.
Accelerate. Okay. And you can see that there is a great deal of smoke and debris, and you testified earlier, you think that's from the motor being revved as well as the airbags that there.
Correct.
And you mentioned that a couple of wheels were off the ground, so it probably wouldn't go any further.
Correct.
All right. Now, we watched the video, and we see you moving around. Obviously, you're a first responder at that point in time. Do we see, and I think you testified this, Trooper Scott's actually assisting the driver. We didn't know who it was at the time. It was just assisting the driver.
Yes.
Okay. And you get the driver's side door open, the
Yes.
front. Yeah. Do you recall how they had to open the other side? Do you recall?
I read the transcript and it said they used the jaws of life.
And I'm going to ask if you remember, okay?
Right.
Just what's your memory on that? Okay. Now, how long did you stay on the scene? I'm not going to ask you the exact minute, just ballpark.
I'm not exactly sure. Probably less than 30 minutes.
Okay. And at some point in time, you went back to work, right? Back to the scene, right?
Now I left the scene from there, left my patrol car on scene, and assisted EMS with one of the passengers to the hospital.
All right, let me ask you about this. Do you remember who you assisted with?
I don't know the person's name, but I know their orientation of the vehicle.
Who was it?
The front right passenger.
And when you say assistance, tell us what you mean by it.
He had a head injury with only quite a bit of blood and only Mexican combatant. So they had to restrain him in the ambulance to make it to Higgins.
Okay.
So me and another officer rode to the back of the ambulance with the EMS because they only rode two to a truck.
Okay. And who was the other officer who rode with you?
Wagner.
Right. And you say restrained. Was he by hand, by cuff?
It was by hand. It wasn't to. It was to keep him from hurting himself any further.
Okay. So it's fair to say he became combative.
Yes.
Okay. And you rode with him to Higgins in the end.
That's correct.
Now, we see blood in the car. Do you recall seeing the blood inside the? We'll start with the driver's side. Do you remember seeing blood?
I don't remember where exactly I saw blood. I know there was blood at various locations.
Okay. Now, do you recall witnessing alcohol at this scene?
Yes.
Where did you see it?
There was some on the immediate area around the car and then some on the floorboard of the car.
So there was some inside of the car.
That's correct.
Did you take any photographs? Still trying to think anything like that?
No, it wasn't my investigation. I was just there as an assistant.
Fair enough. And you were a first responder, just doing a first responder.
Correct.
And in that same vein, Trooper Scott is seen getting the driver out of the car. Is that something that the first responder you were talking to? You can get the driver out.
A lot of it depends on the individual accident, but yeah, in that situation, I would have been.
So you didn't find that unusual for an officer on duty to try to get the car out? What he could have been smoking, we didn't know.
No.
And you've been out how long?
A year and a half or so.
And after this, you went to work with Convention Mechanical.
Yeah, I worked for a company called Division 5 in Winston.
Okay. And then you went back along for a while?
I did.
And then you're continuing education mechanic?
Correct.
And just so we're clear, when Mr. Scott was under the bridge, Trooper Scott was under the bridge, and he decided to leave, he left because he got a call, or advice that there's something going on you need to check out.
Yes.
So it wasn't any, in your opinion, I'm going to ask, he didn't just leave to go anywhere else that you know, he left us alone.
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah.
So I have.
May I redirect?
Thank you. Mr. Lambert, the front passenger that you escorted, did he seem in control of this facility?
He didn't seem like he was aware of his surroundings at the time.
Was your impression at the time that he was in a high-speed collision?
More than likely due to the head injury. Yeah.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Any objection to this witness being excused?
No.
There you go.
All right, and any objection to the minutes in the courtroom?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert.
I want to welcome now former LA County Deputy Public Defender Philip Dubé. Philip, thank you so much for being on with me. I always enjoy visiting you about these cases and these trials. Let's start first with the fact that this law enforcement, the former police officer, did respond, and he has to set out the grueling details, right? The blood in the car, what he saw, what he heard, the injured passenger. I mean, that's the emotional part that I don't really care how you present it to a jury, whether you're with the prosecution or the defense, it's going to pull their heartstrings. It's hard to listen to.
Oh, of course, but remember, the prosecution really has to prove each element. You know, vehicular homicide necessarily requires that there is some type of traffic fatality. So you're not going to get the good ship lollipop for a type of crime scene. It's going to be gory and horrific, frankly. And given the fact that the traffic conditions were wet, rainy, and cloudy, there's going to be some pretty significant tragedy. And it's on the state to prove that up. Fortunately, only 2 were killed. And given the speed that he was going, I think he was going 24 miles over the speed limit. What was it, between like 80 and 95 or something like that?
Yeah.
He's very fortunate that all 4 weren't killed because in Georgia, I think each vehicular fatality can carry up to 15 years. That could have cost him 60 years of his life, let alone the 30 that he's already looking at.
And I agree with you. It's good fortune that all 4 were not killed in that accident. But let me ask you this, because one of the things that came out during questioning of this witness was that Trooper Scott, the defendant in the case, did ask this law enforcement to get his laptop out of Trooper Scott's car and secure it in my patrol car. Is that nefarious? Because you hear that and you're like, wait a minute, why is he doing that? Is he trying to hide evidence?
No, I don't think that's what it was at all. I remember it sounds like it may have been a duty laptop or a duty computer, and he's trying to collect his belongings as best as possible. I don't necessarily think anything nefarious was going on, at least as presented so far.
Okay, good. That's good information to have from you as you're watching this unfold. As a defense, how do you defend a case like this? Like, what's your immediate first thought process as you're walking into defending this officer?
Causation. There is no doubt that these deaths occurred, but the prosecution has to prove that he was in fact the legal cause of the death. And just because you are speeding, and I'll give them that they have to obey what's called the basic speed law in the state of Georgia, meaning that even if you're going within the speed limit, you can still be pulled over and cited if you're not driving in a reasonably prudent manner given the traffic conditions at the time. And by all accounts, it was raining, it was cloudy, it was wet, and of course he was speeding. But nonetheless, you must still drive defensively. And when Dylan was behind that wheel, if somebody was in the front seat blocking his blind spot and he failed to yield to traffic and another car is coming, I don't think that you can necessarily ascribe his negligent driving to the defendant. And in other words, he was a superseding cause, not the defendant himself.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. And just a reminder to viewers who are joining us, he is facing 2 counts of second-degree homicide by vehicle because 2 of the 4 occupants did die as a result of the accident.